Hello, my name is Paul Cruz, and the problem I'm working on is 277 plus 187. First, I will show you how to estimate a solution, and then I will solve the problem concretely and symbolically. Since these numbers have so many digits, it may be difficult for most students to solve in their heads. To reasonably estimate a solution, we can round these numbers into two benchmark numbers that are easy to work with. For example, we can round each number to the nearest hundred. We will change 277 to 300 and change 187 to 200. This gives us an easy to add equation that equals 500. This number is not a very specific estimate. To get a more accurate estimation, we can round the place values to the nearest 10. Here we would round 277 to 280 and 187 to 190. This is a little bit trickier to add in our heads, but we know that 190 is 10 away from 200. So we can add 10 to 190, and the equation becomes 280 plus 200. This can easily make 480. Let's not forget about that extra 10. So let's remember to subtract 10 from 480, and our final estimate, 470. To solve this problem concretely, of 277 plus 187, we represent them using their place values. Flats of 100, rods of 10, units of 1. We can start by combining our ones together. So we have 7 here, we can take 3 from over here, and then change it to 1 rod, remaining us with 4 units. Now we can shift our rod to the other rods. From here, we know that 10 rods make up 1 flat. So we can combine them here too. Here, we already have 8. We can just add 2 more from up here, and we have ourselves a flat. So we can exchange that. We can then move the flat to our hundreds columns, leaving us with 6 rods left. In the 100 columns, we have 4 flats, and we can't really do anything else with that. Our final will become 464. So to solve this problem symbolically, we should break this up into its place values. We break it up to its hundreds, in tens, and into ones. For 277, let's pull out the hundreds. So it'll be 200. Seven plus 7, most students should know, is 14. But since our ones column has to be a single digit, we have to pull away the 10 ones out of there. So let's subtract the 10 ones. And we end up with 4. Now we can move on to our tens. We had 70 plus 80. But let's not forget about the 10 that we removed from the ones column. This number gets moved down here. Let's find ways to add this up. We know that 70 plus 10 is 80. 80 plus 80 should be easier numbers to add. And we end up with 160. Once again, in our 10 spot, we only have 2 digits. 160 consists of 3. So we have to remove 10 tens, which is 100. And we end up with 60. And finally, for our 100s column, it's 200 plus 100. Once again, let's not forget about the 100 we removed from the tens column. 200 plus 100 plus 100, easy enough for children to solve, is 400. Now we can put them all in our place values. We have our 4 that goes in our 100 spot, our 60 in our 10 spot, and finally our 4 in our 1 spot. This gives us a final answer of 464. Now remember, earlier we estimated in 2 ways. When we rounded to the nearest hundreds, our estimate was 500. This would be much higher than 464. However, when we rounded to the nearest tens, our estimate of 470 was very close. Since the next thing we could have done would be using the nearest ones, we actually could not estimate any better without fully solving the problem, as we have done here. So in conclusion, the best way to estimate was to round to the nearest tens. So a personal strategy that I would use to solve this equation is to get to benchmark numbers. We know this can be to 300, which would be 23 away, and this will be 13 away. But I'd like to work with the smaller numbers. So we could just get this to 200 by adding 13. And our equation becomes 277 plus 200. Two numbers that are easier to add. This will end up with 477. Now, regarding that 13, we must remember to remove it. And these are two numbers that are easy enough to subtract. 477 minus 13, 464.